Am I live? It says I'm live. Let's see if some people come in to have a conversation with me. Please, I beg of you. I really want to talk with you guys. I miss you so much. I can't believe how long it's been since I've done a live. I think it's been 3 or 4 days. Let's see. It's the 5th of February. It is Wednesday still. I do believe. Let's see what YouTube says my last live was. I mean, I've been doing my yoga videos still. So I kind of almost do like a yoga video and then a live video almost every other day. Because as you know, Coco is mid-treatment for her cancer radiation. And that has been like a full-time job getting her to that. So it's going very well. Let's see when my last live was. It says, that's funny. It says that it was 47 minutes ago. That's not right. Okay, so 3 days ago, was that Sunday, Groundhog Day? And yeah, I had done 2 lives that day because I'm glad I looked this up too. Oh, hello, Michael McAllister and Jackie Bushable. Stay positive, Jazzy. Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for coming in, both of you. And yeah, you made a really nice comment on one of my posts, Michael. I really appreciated that. Or maybe it was a comment to one of my comments on somebody else's thing. I don't remember, but I just remember that it was you. And it was very, very nice. So thanks. So yeah, I wanted to come on kind of quickly because it is 8 o'clock and I do want to get my yoga in tonight. It's important to take care of myself, but I really wanted to come on and talk with you guys. Please don't leave. I want to talk with you about politics. If you're okay with that. This crap with Elon Musk, man, he is like the most hated man on earth. And I'm pretty sure the most hated man in the galaxy. But you know that he's moved beds into the, he's sleeping in the freaking White House. He's moved beds into like Congress because he doesn't have a room in the White House. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of this stuff, but he's gone completely insane. Not that he was sane before, but to me, he's a terrorist, and he's making terrorist attacks on our government, on our national security. Susie, hello, hello. Aw. So yeah, Musk is tight with Putin. He's also tight with Diddy. These people, you guys, talk about dark money. I remember first learning about dark money through a friend of mine who actually was working in Washington, D.C. with the dark money, shall we say. And there was a book at his house called Dark Money. And I picked it up and I was like, huh, what's this? And he was like, oh, you should really read that. And I haven't. So, like, I don't really want to get into that stuff. It's a dark, dark world of crazy. But I feel like my focus on justice is turning into a political focus at this point with the attack on our freedoms. And I think justice is one of those words that is going to be restricted out of a lot of, I don't know, everything. Am I going to have to change the name of my channel? Susie says, OMG, scary thought, him having a place to lie his head. So, you know, it's hard for me to understand politics and it's hard for me to keep up. But I watched an AOC video today that I'll put a link to in the description. And she breaks it down in pretty good layman's terms. So Congress was recessed until today, which is why Musk and his little teenage boys were wreaking havoc on our finances. And also because it's like tax return time. So there's all this money that the government has. And just by like crashing the Medicare, I think they can get like 2 billion or something. They're trying to get $4 billion together. So probably $1 billion of that is in the tax returns. I don't know, billion, trillion, I can't keep track. I mean, it's just like a gazillion, right? It's nuts. So for a lot of us common folks, it's hard to understand this stuff. And what they're trying to do and what they're doing pretty well is they're overwhelming me, and I think a lot of us, they're instilling fear and paralysis. And that's the last thing you want to allow them to do. Like, we've got to stand up for our rights. The most important thing is that we know our rights and that we do whatever it is we can do. And if we're feeling completely overwhelmed, it's okay. Just knowing your rights is enough. Just do what you can do to take care of yourself. Why is he staying at the White House? I really wonder. Because he's completely out of his mind and he's trying to take over the country and probably give it to Putin if you really want to know the truth, right? Gracie, hello. Why'd you retract your message, my dear? I can't. Let's see. Let me highlight that one. Why is he staying at the White House? Yeah, we'd have to ask him. I mean, he's just a man baby and he wants a slumber party, right? I mean, that's part of it, I think. He's got some serious, serious issues. And he's a danger to society. Public enemy number one, in my humble opinion. And let me do my rundown of all my disclaimer and everything. I can't even believe when I hear the news. Hasn't Trump only been in office for a couple, 3 weeks? Yeah, I think today is day 16. So it was 2 weeks on Monday. And, you know, like the 2025 project 2025 is a 180-day implementation plan. So we're 16 days into it. My guess is that they started before Inauguration Day. And that's where all the deportation and the financial overthrow, all this crap. Yeah, I really believe, not to be a fearmonger, I really believe that they're trying to do outdo what happened in World War II. I think they're trying to outdo that. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong. It's definitely a spiritual battle going on right now. Yeah, and it's a battle for democracy. It's a battle for our country. In a few months, it'll be summer break for Congress. If there still is a Congress. I mean, they could do like a mass casualty event in Congress. I wouldn't put anything past them. Like, I'm just being honest. Might be a little much. Hey, Anna Bees, what's up? I'm so mad about this. Yeah, I'm furious and I'm just trying to stay focused. I'm just trying to take care of myself. I've been really missing talking to my viewers here. So thanks for being here, you guys. Annie Ruler's here too. Why are they letting him anyway? Well, you know, it's all money. I mean, he's supposedly the wealthiest man in the world, but that's just like on paper. He doesn't really have any money, I don't think. And the stocks for Tesla are tanking. He's hurting. So he's basically breaking into the treasury and being a pirate. And it's a little ironic when Trump and his followers are always talking about detaining the criminals. It's like, who's the criminal? You know, everything that gaslighters accuse other people of is what they're doing. Hey, Valerie. Um, and yeah, I wonder why the Democrats are allowing this to happen. A lot of Democrats are just as guilty as anybody, just as guilty as the one in charge. And I think they're all financially motivated. I think that they've all been promised and gifted, and it's just, you know, they've sold their souls, they've sold their constituents. You know, we've all been sold down the river, basically. I've missed you the last few days. Oh, you're so sweet, Annabise. I've missed you too. You are very sweet. I love your honesty. He is pushing his Doge coin. That whole Doge thing is insane. It's completely insane. So I feel like I've been learning a lot more about politics, and I just feel like I have to do what I can to keep up. So I have a ton of notes. I wanted to share with you guys some things. So staying engaged is the most important thing that any of us can do. Staying positive and staying engaged, whatever that means for you. For me, that means educating myself with the YouTube videos that I choose to watch. It means taking care of myself, my family, my dog, doing my yoga, coming on and doing lives with you guys, because, you know, like I said, I would like to get my yoga on, and I also would like to keep up with some of the other content creators, but I really wanted to create some content with your company. So thanks for being here. Where's my thumb? I'll do my little thingamabob. Please hit your like button. Make sure that you're still subscribed if you are subscribed, and if you're not, consider doing that. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. Turn on your notification bell to ring. And everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to have a really good conversation with you guys. Learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. So, yes. One of the things that AOC talks about in the 1 hour video that she made, I think yesterday, that I watched earlier today, is she talks about the Wizard of Oz a lot, and how these politicians and Musk, he's not a politician, obviously, but what they do is they put on this front, and that they're very much like the wizard, you know, like ignore the man behind the curtain kind of thing. And that's not a surprise to me. I think that that's why that movie was made, was to show all of us that a lot of people that appear to be big and powerful are just scammers, and don't give them your power, because if you buy into it, it works, and they get away with what they're trying to do, which is basically steal your sunshine. You guys know that song by isn't the name of the band Len? Steal Your Sunshine? Steal My Sunshine? I think the name of the band is Len, Len. It's a what is it? It's a Canadian band. And all this stuff about Canada and Mexico. So one of the things I want to talk about, national security and terrorist attacks, because I believe that a lot of what is going on could be terrorist attacks. I'm not saying that it is, but I think we need to keep an open mind. And just because it's possible that the helicopter and the airplane crashed over the Potomac, it's possible that that was human error, and, you know, they want to say it was the woman's fault, right? Because she might be gay or something like that. But always blame it on the women. Women don't know how to drive. It could have been pilot error, absolutely. But it also could well have been some type of overriding system that interfered with the pilot's ability to guide that plane. If you've seen the path that that helicopter took, like from above. If you've seen the path right before they collide, it takes a super sharp left. I get my left and my right confused all the time. It takes like a 90-degree super sharp left and then a 90-degree super sharp right, and then it flies directly into that airplane. And we also know that the airplane was about 325 feet in the air, that the helicopters never go above 200 feet in that corridor. Corridor? Am I saying that right? And that the collision looks like it happened at 325 feet. So it doesn't make a lot of sense that anybody would have allowed her, if she was the one in charge of the flight pattern and she was the one being trained, why would the people training her allow her to be flying that high in that corridor? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for a collision to happen so close to the White House, basically. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And then to have that airplane in Philly explode and fall out of the sky 2 days later. And, you know, it was all people from Mexico. It was headed to Mexico. And there just happened to be this whole thing with Mexico and the tariffs. Like, what are the freaking chances? I mean, seriously. Even going back a year to that barge that hit the bridge in Maryland, there's a very real possibility that that was a terrorist attack, that there was some kind of like scrambling of the radar equipment. So I'm not saying that any of these things are, but I think we need to keep an open mind. And you know that a couple of planes collided today at the Seattle-Tacoma airport. They didn't have any injuries for any of the people, but I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And then there's just so many crazy things. There was a live shooter right outside of Columbus, New Albany. So they finally did catch him today. That was last night or this morning at a factory. And then there was a live shooter in Maine. I mean, some of this stuff might just be the normal crap that always happens that we're not paying attention to, right? I really enjoy the balls of light on your left. Me too. That's what it's all about. Ta-da! So cool. I call it my chakra tower. So yeah, for anybody who doesn't know the chakras, the red one is like your groin. The orange one is like your solar plexus. And then the orange, yellow, they're somewhere in there. The green one is your heart. The blue one is your throat. The cobalt blue one is your third eye. And then there's the purple one, which I don't have. I'm still working on my purple one, is like above your head. So it starts out at your crotch and then it goes up. So I know green is your heart, blue is your throat, cobalt is your third eye. So yellow is your solar plexus. So orange would have to be like your intestines, basically, right? Anybody know? I could Google it. See what Google says real quick. You know how addicted I am to Google. Orange chakra. And yeah, learning the chakras is something that you do in yoga. Associated with the lower abdomen. Yep. Okay. And lower belly, inner pelvis, sacral chakra. Good to know. Good to know. All right. B says, I begin feeling like it's something strange too. Why did they scrub her from the internet before releasing her name, yet named the other two no problem? So I have some theories about that, B, and I'm happy to share them with you. But let me read through real quick and then come back to that. Elon made the top of the FAA resign like about 24 to 48 hours before it happened. Oh, yeah, maybe a week before. Yeah, that's effing crazy. All this crap is effing crazy. And the drone issues on the East Coast just a couple of months ago. Right. And then Donnie pretending that he didn't know anything about the drones and then pretending that he just found out. And oh, they're for research and things, right? Like that's an answer. Staying vigilant can save your life. Amen. Absolutely. Yes, I think so. It's the root chakra. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to B. My opinion, one idea that it might be, and I really want to underscore that much of what I talk about on my channel obviously is theories, and that C word is just annoying AF because that C word is designed to belittle you and mock you and try to get you to not talk about this stuff. And why would anybody want to belittle you, mock you, and try to get you to not talk about this stuff? Like, why would they care? The answer's in the question, in my opinion. So, why did they scrub her from the internet before releasing her name, yet named the other two? No problem. So, there's information that the family wanted to do that. There's also information that the military told the family to say that they wanted to do that. It appears that she's woman identified, but I wonder if she might not be trans because there was another female Black Hawk pilot that people thought was the one flying that Black Hawk and thought that she was dead. And she's come out to speak publicly. So I'm thinking it's a theory of mine that maybe there's only 2 trans women that are Black Hawk pilots currently. And so people that knew the other one thought it had to be her. So I don't know if Rebecca is what do they call cisgender, like born female. But we do know that Trump immediately launched into this whole diversity. I hate the whole DEI thing. Affirmative action is what it was called back when it was initiated, I think in the 50s or the 60s. Affirmative action is what it was called when I was in college. And yeah, it was harsh to have colleges allow in their what did we call it? We called it like a quota or token. That if you were a minority, that was a benefit that could get your foot in the door, but you still had to work really hard. So I don't think that it's a fair argument. But what I thought initially when Trump kept talking about the DEI is I thought, oh, is she like maybe an amputee or some type of deformity or differently abled type of person? And maybe she's not white. And obviously she's a woman because we already knew that kind of got out early. And so I was relieved that there weren't like physical disability issues to fight against, because people with physical disabilities, or as I like to say, differently abled, can be completely able-bodied for some things. And to try to keep people that are different, that have challenges, to the whole diversity thing, to try to keep people like that out is insane. That's completely like, that's just fascism. That's just the whole white supremacy thing. I don't even like to say those words. But that's what this is about. Elon is from South Africa. This this whole thing is about white men feeling like they're losing their power to the equality, the DEA or the DEI, this like diversity employment initiative, I think. It's what the DEI stands for. But like I said, it just is stupid to me. Just call it affirmative action. That's what it is. It's the same thing. But anyway, it seems that she's woman identified, and it seems that they wanted to scrub the internet maybe to get all of that out off so that people wouldn't know that, so that people wouldn't judge her legacy, her family, the military. I mean, I really don't know. These are all just theories and guesses, basically. But I'm curious. I really wonder if she was maybe trans. So as far as trans goes, there are people that are born, like, so you've biology, we all know this, but just briefly, the Y chromosome is the male chromosome. So males have the X and the Y, and the women have two X chromosomes. So there are people that are born with two X chromosomes and a Y chromosome. I know for a fact because I grew up with somebody who was like that. And we never knew what was going on with him. He never knew what was going on with him. And eventually they figured that out. But I was blown away. And there's all different types of people on the spectrum. And I'm not talking about the autism spectrum. I'm talking about the gender spectrum. It's not so simple and black and white and male and female. And it's an individual's right to identify themselves the way they feel comfortable identifying themselves. And yeah, I'll admit it's inconvenient. It makes you feel old when they do the whole, like, what are your pronouns? They, them, her, him, all that. But it is important. I mean, for younger people, it's super important. It's like a major thing that you talk about every time you start a new class or you're in a new group. You introduce yourself, you say what your pronouns are. I am older, so I thought that was pretty wild, but it is important. And now the whole thing with MAGA is like, that's so upsetting to them. It's like, just let it go. Like, who the F cares? Just get over it. It's pronoun. And actually, I think it makes it a lot easier to say they when you used to always have to say him or her. That was annoying. Like, you couldn't say they because that was improper English, because that meant that there was more than one. And if it was only one, you'd have to say him or her, him/her. I found that terribly annoying. So, but let's talk about the fact that that female pilot was tight with Joe Biden. She was the social coordinator for the Biden administration. Let's also talk about the fact that there were two social activists on that airplane. So they were people with law degrees that were, justice seekers. God forbid. Not to mention, I'd say a good percentage of the Olympic ice skating team for the upcoming ice skating Olympics. I don't think any of that's a coincidence. It could be all coincidence that it was all these ice skaters and the two Russian coaches and the social activists and the female that was Biden's social coordinator and maybe woman identified. It could be that this was just a fluke, but I think it's unlikely. I think that there hadn't been a plane crash like that since about 1961 in that spot at that airport, that a military chopper and a commercial airline had not collided since 1961. And that was right there at the Reagan airport. I don't know if that's happened other places in the country, but what I do know is that it was the most lives lost in an airplane crash on American soil since 2001. And the terrorist attacks of 9/11 were huge, well over 3,000 people that perished in that atrocity. And then there was an airplane that crashed in New York City 2 months after that. So November of 2001. And again, what a coincidence that this was all New York, right? I mean, New York is like the backbone of American economy, probably of global economy. So it's all about the money. What do they care about what people do in their personal lives? Absolutely, Annabise. It's a control factor. It's a major control factor. And so they're trying to cut out the language of even being gender specific. So you can no longer be gender specific if you're funded by the government. So, like schools, if you're doing a research study that involves gender specificity, can't say it, you know what I mean? You can't use that word. You can't use the word justice. Are you kidding me? It's absolutely insane. But it's the start of erasing women and erasing diversity and just basically clearing the decks so that the white men can have everything. So, Trump was talking about with the air traffic control positions that, we need to have just the super sharp white guys in there and then pay them double what they're getting paid now. It's like, sure, you can increase their pay, but it doesn't matter. Nothing about their gender, their race, none of that matters. What matters is if they can do the job. I mean, obviously. And it's a very hard job. It takes a lot of very specific training. There's been, I think, an understaffing issue nationwide, I think, for decades. And it's only getting worse now with this crap. My daughter told me the other day she feels like we are headed towards the Handmaid's Tale era. That's exactly what they want. And we're not going to allow it. And we're not going to surrender. We're not going to comply. They can F all the way off, right? Seriously. It's really crazy. It's really, really crazy. So, oh, Caroline Levitt. Is that the woman's name who's like the spokesperson for the president right now? The little blondie. She looks like a Barbie doll and she's really stupid. And she says all kinds of crazy stuff and contradicts herself all the time. Caroline with a K. I think that's her, right? Absolutely nuts. So there's a lot of people in Philadelphia that were on the ground that are still missing. And there's a lot of people that are in critical condition. So they've only talked about like 24 people that are injured from that crash. And then obviously the 6 that perished, and then 1 more that was on the ground that perished. But it had been 22 was what they thought was the number of people injured. But now it's gone up to 24. But it's hard to say if, I mean, people that were there said that there were, trigger warning, that there were like body parts flying around. So it could be that people's remains were incinerated. It could be. I mean, that's the same thing like in the Hawaii fires, right? That's one way that they can get around counting people, is if there's no evidence of them, then it didn't happen. So it's probably going to continue to go up. There's going to be like DNA potentially. I mean, how do you do this? I don't even know. Like, if they're finding DNA and there's no human to match the DNA, but then what? Are you going to have like everybody in Philly? Are you going to have everybody's DNA in a data bank to say, well, is this the DNA of somebody who was incinerated? Like, that's crazy. You wouldn't even know. You just wouldn't even know. But there's this one man who's missing. His name is Jason Rodriguez. As of yesterday, he was missing from the time of the plane crash. And I think his phone shows that he was right where the plane crashed. And I think he lived with his sister, or he was really tight with his sister. And she had communicated with him that day, and he's just missing. And they're scared that he was obliterated, basically. But I think that cell phone data is one way that we might be able to determine if there's some people that are missing, right? Maybe easier than DNA, actually. I don't know. We don't know what caused that plane to go down, the small plane that was headed to Mexico with the 11 or 12-year-old girl who was getting life-saving medical treatment for a spinal condition. We don't know if it was an oxygen tank. That kind of seems like the most likely, logically. It could, I think there's an outside chance, I think, that it could have been shot down. I think there's an outside chance that it could have collided with a drone or a bird. I don't know. I don't know how these things are determined, but it's very suspicious, in my opinion, that it happened 2 days after the other crash, and that it was all Mexican nationals, basically. And yeah, maybe it's just bad luck. Maybe it's just there was a plane crash, and then 2 days later there was another plane that fell out of the sky. But for people that don't know the East Coast, Philly is not too far from DC. I was going to look it up. Philly. It's a 2-hour and 26-minute drive. It's 139 miles. And really, in that straight line from Washington, D.C. to Philly, I mean, the only other big cities between the two are Baltimore and Wilmington, and they're nowhere near the size of Philly and DC. I mean, when you say DC, you're saying like Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Maryland, because they all converge right there. I mean, Washington is tiny by itself, but parts of Virginia and parts of Maryland are basically considered part of Washington, D.C. And again, for people who don't know the area, because I know a lot of people do know the area, I know that I've driven between the two, and I was shocked how close they were. Because until I did that drive on a spring break in college, and we were up in New Jersey, and we drove from Jersey all the way down to Richmond, Virginia, I was absolutely shocked how close Philly and Washington, D.C. were. So 2 hours and 26 minutes. Interesting. Just interesting that those planes had the fatalities and that they were just a couple hours away from each other and a couple of days away from each other. Again, what are the chances? There's no such thing as coincidence. There's synchronicities, but not coincidence, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm not saying that of course, I don't know if it was terrorist attack or not. I feel like it is ridiculous to not keep an open mind that it could have been. So Barbie doll Sudi says, yeah. Yeah, that little 26-year-old, like, she's gross. I am so sorry, not sorry. She is absolutely disgusting. Like, she's got no backbone, no integrity. She's an absolute puppet, and she's a fool, and she'll say anything because that's her job. But what a life, you know? Jason was found from an article read. Oh, so glad to know that, Sudi. Thank you. Yes, cell phone data would help. It is not a coincidence. Very hard to watch for me. Oh, to watch that little Barbie doll? Yeah, she's terrible. She's gross. But this might make it fun, Sudi. If you look closely, the hair on her left is always falling into her eye. And rather than just like putting it behind her ear, using a barrette or hairspray or whatever, trimming it, make it bangs, whatever, she tries not to touch it, and she will allow it to start to cover her eye, and then she'll try not to flip her head, not to flip her hair. And she does it like clockwork. I haven't timed it, but it's probably like every 20 seconds, and it's hilarious. So that's what I do when I watch her talk. I just focus on watching the hair creep closer and closer towards her eye. And it's just like, she just looks like such a freaking kid with that hair. It cracks me up. Oh boy, I'll watch her now. It's funny because she's flipping her hair, but she's not using her hands, and she's barely moving, but she does get the hair back. And it's like every 20 seconds, and then the hair starts to fall into her eye, and then I find it extremely entertaining. It's ridiculous. But yeah, you gotta laugh when you can, right? So the nominees, RFK, Tulsi, and Kash Patel. I don't know if they've been voted on yet to be confirmed, but this is something that AOC was saying, is that it's important for us to call our representatives, call our senators, and tell them that we do not approve of confirming these people if we don't approve of confirming them. And I can't imagine how anybody could be okay with RFK, Tulsi, or Kash Patel. They are some sick effing freaks, and they are dangerous AF, in my humble opinion. So yeah, so there should be more activity in Congress now. Congress should be taking a stand. My guess is that all three of those MFs will be confirmed, but you know, there's always hope, right? Let's see. The easily bruised egos of Elon and the angry orange man baby brain eating zombie president. Very easily bruised egos. And I think, in my opinion, that's what lends them to being white supremacists, is this small-minded stupidity. I mean, did you guys see that movie with Tom Berenger and Deborah Winger? I think it was called Betrayed. and she played an FBI agent, and he played a white supremacist. And she fell in love with him. So she was on a mission to like study him and to intervene and basically spy. And he was a very sick individual. And that movie, Tom Berenger, I thought did a really good job of showing the complexity and the pathology behind that type of ignorance. So, I often refer to Archie Bunker from All in the Family because Carol O'Connor was the opposite of that character, and he created that character. He created that whole show to demonstrate to Americans how ridiculous that type of mentality was. And of course, Rob Reiner was his son-in-law, who he called Meathead, who was like the hippie, the progressive one, right? And Rob Reiner is still, I'm sure he's still very active in Hollywood. He's produced some of the best movies, I think, like Princess Bride. I can't think of any others off the top of my head. But yeah, Carol O'Connor was a remarkable actor. I'm sure he's deceased. But man, he sold that character so well that a lot of people had trouble believing that he wasn't like that, because he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. But it's really ignorant to be so fearful of diversity. Like, there's plenty of room for everybody. So, and diversity is the spice of life. It's fascinating to learn about other people and other cultures, in my opinion. So yeah, if people want to mock me or mock you for having ideas, opinions, thoughts about these political things, I'd say it's important to question why would they mock you? Why would they care just because you have a different opinion than them? They're trying to shut you down because you're challenging their belief system, and they're too weak in their belief system. They can only deal with people that agree with them. They can't deal with people that disagree with them. So all of those executive orders that the angry orange man baby signed, I think there's about 20 lawsuits already to stop some of these illegal injunctions. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with those lawsuits. Absolutely. So the prisons make a lot of money. My guess is Guantanamo Bay, that they're trying to populate with 30,000 people. And I don't think they're focused only on immigrants. They're focused on anybody that they don't see as worthy. It could be anybody. And they're so quick to call people criminals. Now, who's the criminal? These pirates that are basically looting our economy, looting our government, looting our financial institutions. But then they want to say that there's these terrible criminals that all need to get locked up in Guantanamo Bay. Like, why would you take people all the way down there rather than, if you're deporting them, send them back to wherever they came from? But no, they want to populate Guantanamo Bay, and that's frightening. That's like a concentration camp. That's like Handmaid's Tale. That's like slavery. Like, why in the world would they want to populate Gitmo Bay, man? It's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Oh, so back to the Tesla that exploded in front of the Trump Tower in Vegas. That was only a month and 4 days ago. Has that been like all forgotten about? Like that's just like last month's news? Like, no, I think we still need to question WTF because I think that that was a terrorist attack. I do. I think that the one that happened in New Orleans, the guy driving his rented truck into all those people, I think that could have been a terrorist attack. The connection with the military. So you've got the Black Hawk military there. You've got the military with the Tesla, the guy in the Tesla, Matt Leibelsberger. You've got the military with the other guy from New Orleans. I don't know his name. But the fact that both of those men rented their trucks through the same app on like this, and it was, within hours of each other, what, maybe like 6 or 7 hours apart. I mean, if you take the time difference to somewhere around there, 6 or 7 hours apart, I think it was like 1:30 in the morning in New Orleans, and then maybe around 7:30 or 8 in Vegas, and there's probably a 1 or 2 hour time difference. But wasn't there another thing on New Year's also? Am I forgetting something else? It's impossible to keep up with this crap, isn't it? But I think it's important to remember the freaking Trump Tower in Vegas with a Tesla Cybertruck. That was no coincidence. And then on the news, I haven't said this in any of my lives, but I think it's really important. I've wanted to say it. The news would just reiterate again and again when they had that ridiculous like manifesto thing. Oh, that's what it was. It was the thing with the CEO of United Behavioral Health and Luigi, however you say his last name. We'll just go with the first name. That was right before that. That was the third thing. So the thing with the Tesla and the Trump Tower, where was I going with that? Oh, that the news kept trying to say he had no animosity towards President Trump. How many times did you hear those words on the news that Matt Leibelsberger had no animosity towards President Trump? Like, how do you know? And why do you keep saying that? Because why the F would he blow up a freaking Tesla in front of a Trump Tower? For shits and giggles? I don't think so. But again, it's hard to know what the F is going on with these people in these crazy situations. Wait a second. I froze for a sec. Oh, so I started at the beginning of my last live. I had to do it in two pieces because I got cut off. So the first piece, it didn't get cut off for 37 minutes. It was a 37-minute long live, but only 12 minutes of that is on the live. And then when I picked it back up and started a new stream, that 20 minutes is just gone. And I said a lot of pertinent things and I don't have it recorded, so I can't really recreate it, but I'll try. I'll meditate and I'll try. I was kind of going off the rails. Like, it doesn't surprise me that it got shut down and that it got deleted, but it's crazy, isn't it? And so, yeah, I'm sorry if I'm roboting now. So Just read an article on Linda Fagan, a 4-star admiral, was asked to leave her house, given 3 hours to do so. Originally given 60 days to relocate. Because she's a female and she's an admiral. I can say it. All this has been orchestrated. Yes, I agree. So, did you guys hear Elon yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It might have been the day before, where he was talking about the apple and the worm. He was using it as like a metaphor. And he was basically saying that the government was like the apple with a worm in it, except that it was so bad that there was no apple. It was all worms. It was just a ball of worms, which is like so gross, but that's what he is. And what makes it even better is that he can't even say the word worm. And he had no need to say it, except that he was trying to go with this gross analogy, and he kept saying it. I mean, it's kind of sad. It'd be cute if he was a little kid, because it's kind of like a little kid with a speech impediment. But, and I don't like to make fun of people for that type of thing, but him, I'll make fun of him because he's a disgusting freak. And why are you talking about a ball of worms, especially when you can't even say the freaking word? Like, what does that have to do with anything? What a whack job. What an absolute whack job. C3PO just got here. Hello, hello. And yeah, we're at about an hour, and I was just about to start to think about winding down because I got to go do my yoga and upload that. How are you tonight? C3PO. Thanks for coming in, everybody who's here. So, yeah, I saw a Cybertruck today. Those things are so fugly. They're so effing ugly. And the first time I saw one, like the first time I saw a photograph of one or a video of one, I thought, well, that's kind of cool. Interesting. And then when I saw one in person, I was horrified. If anybody in the chat who's seen one in person, and I would imagine at this point in time, at this juncture, probably everyone has seen one in person. They're very predatory looking to me. And I've heard people say Blade Runner. I always think of the Terminator. They are creepy, bad vibes, like Armageddon. That's what I think of. That's what I feel when I see one of those Cybertrucks. And the worm brain guy, oh, that was the best thing about Elon and his little worm analogy. Is like, why is he talking about worms? Like, don't we have to think about worms enough with the guy whose brain was eaten by a worm? And what happened to that worm in RFK's brain? He claims that a parasite worm, brain eating thing, ate his brain and then died. And then, like, is it still in there? I really want to know. I'm not just speaking in hyperbole. Has he ever said anything about it being removed? Or does it shrivel up and die? Or is it all just crazy talk? That's what I think. I think it's just effing crazy talk. Maybe he's just trying to explain why he's such a screwball. He is such a screwball. I mean, in his confirmation hearings, again, no backbone, no integrity. These people just bald-faced lie. You guys all saw the part where Kash Patel said he didn't know this guy whose podcast he was on like 8 times. You probably know who I'm talking about too. The podcast Patel was on 8 times. No, I don't know the guy. And the creator of that podcast totally called him out for it, called him a liar. Stu Peters. So I don't really know who Stu Peters is. I don't know if I want to know who Stu Peters is. What was he in a movie? A movie called Died Suddenly in 2022. He's an alt-right internet personality known for promoting COVID-19 misinformation. Hold on. And conspiracy theories. Anti-Semitic and white supremacist. Born in 1980. Born April Fool's Day, 1980. That's going to make him insecure, huh? So he's 44 years old. He's known for his promotion of conspiracy theories, the anti-vaccine movement, anti-Semitism, and white supremacy. 3 children. Having previously been a rapper and a bounty hunter, Peters launched the Stu Peters Show in 2020, which airs on weekdays. His show routinely features conspiracy theories about governmental organizations such as the CDC. His guests have included established proponents of conspiracy theories such as Paul Gosar and Mark Meadows. In 2020, Peters released the anti-vaccine film Died Suddenly and subsequent 2023 film titled Final Days. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Yuck truck, yeah. Ugly truck, yeah. And one just crashed and killed the driver, I think, yesterday. And it was on like autopilot. And I guess you can get really cheap insurance for the truck if you'll say that you'll only use the autopilot or something like that, because they're trying to promote that. Yes, Frugly is a good description. Fugly, yeah. I live in an area with lots of those freakish vehicles. It makes me laugh. Oh, I'm sorry, C3PO. That's when I see one, it makes my skin crawl. It really does. The worm and the laugh Susie has. No explanation needed, RFK Jr. Never heard of him. Outright lie. Yeah. Yeah. And so Stu Peters called him out for it, which was kind of shocking because you'd think all these MFs would like back each other up, right? Whack. Absolute whack. Okay, you guys, I'm going to sign off. If you still want to check out a live, I would recommend hopping over to Boston Brian's live. C3PO, do you have the ability to find the link to Blunt Politics with Boston Brian and put that link in the chat? And then people that want to stay in a chat can go over there. I might have it on while I get set up for my yoga and get started. I really like him. He's funny. He's serious. He's got an amazing Boston accent. He's hilarious. And Anna B says bye. Yeah, thanks so much for coming in, you guys. I so appreciate you. I'm so happy to have an opportunity to interact with you. And like I said, it's Wednesday. It's the 5th of February, and we're so close to the end of the radiation therapy. So for the next like week or 10 days, it's going to be kind of spotty probably, but I'll do as much as I can because you know how much I miss you. Keep on live or I cannot link it. Okay, I'll stay on live for a few more minutes. What else? Oh, there was something a friend of mine shared with me. I'll read this. It's long, so I might not need to read the whole thing, but I'll read it as you're trying to link it up. C3PO, thank you. It's really long. It's from Facebook. And so somebody sent it to her and she sent it to me. My take on current points, it's dated from yesterday. The Elon data heist is done. The information has undoubtedly left the building and copies are probably offshore. The most likely destination, China. Musk has a huge presence and investment there. I learned yesterday that the Musk team has access down to the code level. It's not just view. They can make alterations, introduce bugs, put in backdoors that allow access later. Elon US aid destruction is personal. They funded and supported the abolishment of apartheid in Africa, costing Elon and Peter Thiel access to the cheap labor that was making them rich. World balance of power. China and Russia are ready to fill in gaps by building relationships with nations we are abandoning and pushing away. They gain significant influence while we pull back America first. Right. Don't hold out hope that the Republicans in the MAGA Congress will take a stand and do the right thing for America. They are 100% complicit at this point. And a lot of the Democrats are too, in my opinion. As folks here might say, them dogs done rolled over for a belly rub. The diversity, equity, inclusion purge. Okay, I'm glad to know what DEI actually stands for since I always hack it up. Diversity, equity, inclusion purge is blatantly racist and sexist and homophobic. And able-bodyist and probably ageist too. This is the link to one of Boston Brian's videos. Oh, cool. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll finish this up. It's almost done. And yeah, he was going live at 8 o'clock and he usually stays on live for a couple hours. So I would think he's still on live, but maybe he ended it or maybe he didn't do it. Let's see. The DEI purge in research publications is going to be critically important. What if a disease turns out to have a much higher infection or fatality rate in a subset of the population, but they can't gather the information or release the results? People will perish because of DEI. CDC limitations. Bird flu is here. Research resources, experienced scientists, and data analysis have already been cut. Freedom of the press is being squelched. MAGA-friendly outlets now occupy the Pentagon office space allocated for media, replacing traditional resources. Do you expect Fox, OAN, and Breitbart to present unbiased information? The lawsuits against networks are also part of an intimidation effort. Mark Rubio is now overseeing U.S. aid. The staff member he has delegated with the task of management was at the Capitol on January 6th. Yeah, I've heard that. There are images of him climbing through a broken window into the Capitol building. That's not comforting. My next post will address the question of what can I do? There are already some good suggestions posted various places. This will just be my own thoughts. You're absolutely encouraged to copy, paste, and repost. I don't need credit. Just say shared from another source. Okay, well, thank you for Boston Brian's link. That is awesome. So yeah, check him out. He's growing rapidly. He's at like 10,000 subs, I think. And I can't remember when his channel started. It wasn't that long ago. I was going to look and see if he is doing his live. Let's see. Oh, did you see my picture with Josh Johnson on my community tab? I got to see him live in Cincinnati at Bogart's. It was awesome. And I got to take a picture with him. And I hugged him and he hugged me back. And I felt kind of bad later for hugging him. I was like, ew, that might have been a little much. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but he was very nice about it. Let's see. Boston Brian. Is he live? Yes, he is live. It says 246 watching. I'm so glad that I looked this up because it's called Blunt Politics, Coups, Condom Bombs, Trade Wars. Did you guys hear about the condom bombs? I just have to say this really quickly that Mr. T was talking about $50 million that was sent to Hamas that they used to make condom bombs, which is completely insane. It's like Alzheimer's or dementia or something. There's no condom bombs. There was money sent, but it wasn't for condoms. And there's no such thing as condom bombs. But now, just like yesterday, maybe like 24 hours ago, he changed it to $100 million worth of condom bombs that America sent to Hamas. Condom bombs, you guys. So if you want to know more about condom bombs, go check out Blunt Politics with Boston Brian and tell him I sent you. All right. Peace out. Love and light. Have a really good rest of your week and see you soon. Thanks so much for being here, people. Love and light.